So our first panel is about the Molecule Nucleate partnership. So earlier this year, Molecule and Nucleate partnered up and had a number of their community join Molecule to help us on our project sourcing journey. It's been a wonderful partnership. I work quite closely with it, and the sort of being able to coach new young academics into decentralized science has been such an eye-opening experience for me. So, moderating our biotech panel is our biotech head of Operations Manager, is technical title, Logan Bishop-Currey. Logan has an MSc in Biomedical Sciences and an MBA from the University of Amsterdam. She is also one of the punniest people I've ever met. So hopefully you'll get a pun or two during this panel. And then in the panel we have Suyen, who is a postdoc and very community orientated, and I think has been, come, jump on stage, come on guys, come. Fabio, neuroscience, very, very great analytical technical skills. We've got Kishore at the back there, who has actually just launched his own startup, Gut Mood. And then lastly, we have Aidin, who has a passion for intellectual property, which is rare to come across and very treasured when we do find it. So yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Ella, for the warm welcome, as always. I'm excited to be here. This is my first DeSci Berlin, and I'm joined today by 4 out of the 9 fellows that we have recently onboarded at Molecule. So I have Aidin, Kishore, Suyen, and Fabio here with me today. 2 more are in the crowd, and 3 more couldn't join, but they have massive FOMO, so that's always a good sign. And for those of you who don't know, Nucleate is a student-led organization that represents the largest global community of bio-innovators. So when we first learned about Nucleate and the organization and kind of what they are trying to accomplish, and realized their value-aligned mission of kind of training the next generation of entrepreneurs and really going about scientific research from a commercial angle and trying to kind of disrupt the system by teaching people from an early stage that maybe take risks and do something different. We knew that would be the perfect partner for helping us launch our new product Catalyst this year. So over the past few months, our fellows have decided to take the leap of faith with us. For you. Thank you. Here all day. So they ventured into the realm of DeSci. They're scientists by training, and their role over the next 6 months working with Molecule will be to support other researchers in their quest to advance science through community-led funding and support. So we've been working hard to educate them on the various aspects and topics required for a foundational level of understanding to work in the space. And they're here today to share their experience and learnings with you. So first things first, obviously, I'm very curious. What was your first impression of DeSci before you learned about Molecule and got more involved? So I'm going to hear from all 4 of them on this question.
So go first.
Aidin, go ahead.
So hi everyone. So my first impression was that DeSci is absolutely disruptive. And coming from CRISPR background, so I'm doing a PhD in CRISPR at King's College London. So we need a lot of resources, and that's why I was really attracted to this space. I think there was lots of opportunities for DeSci to get into, gene editing sort of ecosystem. So that's how I found it, I would say. And what is disruptive in nature is attractive, so I was attracted to it, and yeah.
Thank you. Fabio, what about you?
So I would say I'm not a cynic at heart, so I was quite interested in it, and when I first heard about it, knowing nothing about DeSci to begin with. And yeah, I took more of an interest rather than looking at it from a skeptical point of view, and I think, yeah, when I speak to people now knowing about DeSci, sometimes they can come back with more skepticism than I say I had in the beginning, because yeah, maybe I think I'm quite a community-driven person in general, and so then having this community-led science really speaks to me, and I think there's a big role there for the community to play in terms of gathering data, as we've seen today, and then using this to further science and answer the questions that science poses.
Thank you. Suyen, what about you?
Yes, so for me, I also didn't know anything about DeSci before actually knowing about Molecule. So after I started reading about Molecule's mission and about this decentralization aspect, I found myself, well, I'm a victim of traditional science. I have been working in labs for over 12 years, and decentralized science is actually what we need. So I was sold on day one after reading about DeSci and then getting more involved. And I think this is, as Tyler mentioned, this is the future. Me as a scientist, me as someone that's doing currently lab work day to day, I can see how DeSci will be the answer for science in a few years.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Kishore.
Yeah, so for me, when I first looked into Molecule, I thought it might be a crowdfunding platform. There are some projects listed, and I think they would fund with bringing crypto people together because it's on crypto and blockchain, because I had no prior knowledge of how these things work. But the journey through the fellowship was interesting and an exhilarating journey, which gave me a lot of premise on how these things work. And also, like, being someone, see the problems and the pain points of the traditional science being in that. DeSci came as a rescue. I see it as a movement rather than a new idea. I see it as a movement. That's how I go with it. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing kind of your journey through skepticism into the other side and breaking free of your victim of traditional science kind of shackles. So for the next question, I'm going to ask Aidin and Fabio. I'm going to single you both out. I'd like you to touch more upon what for you has been the most surprising thing that you've learned about DeSci. So obviously you came into the space, you know, we talk about it being a movement. Obviously there's some crypto involved, maybe something new for you, but can you tell me a little bit more about what maybe from like the ecosystem or mentality or kind of, I don't know, drive, passion, or some of the challenges that you encountered that for you were surprising and kind of the, maybe unexpected when you first started?
Sure. So I think for me was the concept of science without borders, and that's very, very powerful. If you've got an organization which is community-driven, then that's such a powerful thing to have in science. You can do research from Taipei all the way to New York without any disruption from these, centralized organizations. So I found that very surprising. Of course, there is a use of IP NFTs and NFTs which facilitates that. So for me, that really stood out, and I was surprised by the efficiency, the knowledge exchange that is done in the, in the DAOs, and you don't know probably the community, but you can exchange very valuable knowledge. So for me, that stood out as a person, and yeah.
Yeah, so I would say, I think one of the surprising things for me, being in academia and knowing, I've been in academia for a while, and knowing, you think you know science and the systems, and then understanding there's this whole subculture kind of beneath it that, DeSci is in its infancy, but still there's a lot of people, there's a lot of DAOs, there's money floating around, and to realize that, there's quite a lot of untapped potential, I would say, and a lot of room for DeSci to grow. And so this was, for me, one of the most surprising things. And as I'm a neuroscientist, I had the opportunity to tap into Cerebrum DAO and participate in some of their meetings. And you can you see a lot of people coming together with a common goal, and it's quite motivating. And with this focus and everyone sharing a similar attribute, me, the surprising thing is that, maybe it's a bit optimistic, but you don't really see how it wouldn't lead to some form of success, because there's so many people who are driven towards the same goal. That I think naturally something positive and something good will come out of it.
I love the optimism, Fabio. Thank you so much. Okay, for my next question, I'm singling out my other two. So for you guys, the question that you're getting is, what are the biggest strengths and weaknesses about DeSci when it comes to its ability to address challenges in translational research? Because we have Fabio here as the optimist, and obviously we all believe that we're here doing something good and that DeSci has the power to move things forward, but there are strengths and weaknesses everywhere. So from your perspective, getting involved, like, what was something that you thought was like, oh, this is amazing, this is going to be a huge success, and then maybe once you learned about it a little bit more, you're like, this is maybe actually something that I'm going to need to tackle and overcome in order to be able to reach my success?
I'll keep up first with the optimism.
Always.
I think one of the strengths is that it's really relatable as a researcher to try to understand how decentralized science will change the way of doing science. So, having funding opportunities outside these centralized entities worldwide, it's really appealing for us. The fact that you can reproduce, just share the knowledge, it's also this open-based access, it's also really appealing as a researcher and as a scientist, and I think DeSci provides all of that. And one of the things when I started learning more about DeSci and the DAOs and everything, and I think I brought it up with just in the conversations with you on our weekly updates, is the whole idea is amazing, everything looks great, but the fact that we still haven't seen, even from the DAOs, one company that has gone all the way through, like a project that has gone from funded to actually become something. That's where, if you're trying to talk to people about this, one of the first questions that I get usually, not maybe like talking to scientists because they always focus on the science part and the funding, but just talking to regular people is, okay, so where is, if I were to put my money into this, where is the success story? And I'm like, so that me trying to explain to them, you're like, we're working on it, like it's happening, it's currently like, this is the moment, this is where things are happening. But, I also understand that people want to see that success story. People want to see that something has come out of it. And I think the challenge right now is to get that hype, like get people hyped up onto what's happening, and we're currently on it. So maybe we don't see that one project or company right away convert into something bigger than just being a project funded, but we're on it, and I think the beauty of it is like you can be part of that. And so to me, whenever I try to also now, and the other challenge will be trying to explaining the scientists, because yes, you can first start talking to them relating to, okay, these are, this is why we need decentralized science, but then when you start to get a little bit more technical and start talking about blockchain and all of this and Web3, that's when you lose them. And I was that person. I mean, I had no idea. You told me about crypto before. My only association was crypto, Bitcoin, nothing else. Had no idea. Now I know more. But then, so also how do you put that into words of a scientist, but also not trying to, make them afraid or scared that this is something completely new. I mean, sometimes there is some sort of resilience of us as a scientist to kind of be in our heads and in our bubble. So I think that how do you educate, how do you get into the scientist's mind, how do you break those barriers, how you break that bubble of the scientist, I think is one of the biggest challenges right now. And things like what Molecule is doing with Nucleate, these type of partnerships are clearly on the way of educating people. I mean, right now we're just talking to so many young scientists and trying to also educate them into what DeSci means.
Thank you so much, Suyen.
Yeah. So Suyen talked about the supply side of the DeSci, which is the scientists providing all these scientific projects and all. And there is this demand side, which is basically the community which wants to interact with science, right? So DeSci is basically bridging the gap between science and the people, how they could interact with science much more closer and participate in this. And looking at it, the two crucial factors that Suyen highlighted on the supply side, one being the steep knowledge curve that you need to get onboarded into DeSci. And this is daunting for scientists because so we are in a bubble, as Suyen was saying. It's hard to break it. So you need a certain threshold potential to overcome this, right? So that is one challenge that I see. And the second challenge being the success stories, that what we have, what we are showing to the new oncomers, like what we have made here already, yeah? So that is one thing. And it is also as important as to look into the demand side, because it will not be truly decentralized unless we bring in people from different communities, different walks, yeah. If I look at any DAO in a Discord server now, as of now, it is either, it's predominantly either crypto Web3 or scientists who has some projects within the DAO. So you can like differentiate this, yeah. So what I think is when we bring people like general audience who doesn't have any knowledge of science or crypto, but is keenly interested on what is happening in science, wants to get involved. If we find a way to, onboard such audience, then I think it'll be truly democratized, and I think there is where we will see the true decentralization of science happening. And what do we need for that is like a huge outreach on how this is important and how you can get involved, and show them. So I've been like pitching DeSci to anyone and everyone I meet. Yeah. So that's been very contagious after this fellowship. I've been like, even at parties, I'm being pitching DAOs and stuff. Yesterday, I randomly met a guy in a park who makes psychedelic trance music, and I was pitching PsyDAO to him. Yeah. So this is being super contagious, and he got like super excited. He wanted to know more about it. I think people are interested. It's the way you present it to them, how interesting it can be to their personal life, like how do they see it intersect with their life. I think these are the few challenges that I would think are necessary to be fixed to scale DeSci much bigger than Discord servers. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. And one more thing is also like with the previous pitch on rare disease with Perala. So this could be something, when you bring on board such people from diverse walks, it is easy to design your studies for scientists. A scientist could know what exactly is my end user expecting from this research. Is it relevant to them to investigate about like different genes, or is it relevant to him to investigate about certain translation value that he has, which could help the end user, yeah? So this sort of connection, bringing users who are the patients or be the general citizens closer to science is what I see interesting and curious to see, because it's a pretty early at this stage. I want to see how it grows, and happy to be a part of it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kishore. It's good to hear that you have the DeSci sickness and that you are very contagious. Glad to hear that you're having such good times at parties, spreading the DeSci word. So a question back to the rest of you as well. So obviously we talked about, your experience moving into DeSci, challenges, opportunities, things that you found exciting. When you go out and you talk to scientists, or you're trying to, spread the word, like we said, outreach is so important, and this kind of idea of cross-pollination of knowledge, right, from academia to industry, but also bringing patients in, or just, kind of regular people who are interested in science. what do you think, from your perspective, is kind of necessary to bring in the next wave of people, maybe not only scientists, but your friends and family? So from your perspective, what would make this, or what would make for an enticing argument to bring them in?
So I think that the patient population is a super interesting area to target, because they naturally have a personal investment within a DAO or a project researching maybe some disease they're suffering from. I don't know exactly how you would go about targeting this population on a whole level, because you would need to go to hospitals around the world, and there's a lot to do. So I don't know exactly how you do it, but I really think that getting people who will be inherently interested and will want to participate in it in the beginning is the way to go, personally.
Go for it, Aidin.
So I work on a rare disease, epidermolysis bullosa, which is inherited rare skin disease. And often I attend these like charity events, and I think making people feel that they make a difference, that's something that DeSci can do. Knowing that your decision can sort of make a difference and then expedite the translational research. So that's such a huge thing in DeSci, and I think DeSci has the power to do that. So for me, that serotonin shot in the from the contributors definitely make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I think it's about getting to everyone in the community, not just patients, not just, as Ethan was mentioning, I bet you know someone with a rare disease. I bet you know someone that has cancer. You know someone that is going through something. So diseases are always there. And I think that's what's also relatable to everyone, that everyone must have a story. Everyone knows that someone. And I think DeSci is about the community. It's about actually we taking control, or like some sort of power onto what we can do with the platforms that are out there, and with the potential projects that can help people. And one of the things that we're doing as Molecule Fellows, and this is a little bit promotion from us.
Trained you well, thank you.
So Fabio and I, along with Lucas, we're writing a book on DeSci. So we will be probably reaching out to some of you to help us with this DeSci book. So this book, it's aimed for everyone. So even if my little brother, cousin, my mom wants to read about what DeSci is, but everything that entails on DeSci, blockchain and everything, but in a way that everyone can understand it. This is not aimed just for scientists. This is just not aimed for the blockchain Web3 people. This is aimed for everyone, with a language that everyone can understand and easily get what DeSci is trying to actually accomplish. So things like this resources where people can actually understand how DeSci can help, I think are really crucial for what's coming next.
Absolutely, make it a little bit more kind of
If you're
practical.
interested in writing with us, let us know.
Yeah, I think this book could be a crucial step in reaching out to mass audience. And while I was thinking about scaling up the community, something came to my mind was you're trying to onboard audience, people from different walks. And how do you make sure that the goal of the community is preserved? Let's say people, you need to make quick decisions, of course, a community consensus-based decision, but how do you make sure that it is not run down by people who are not working towards the cause that the community wants to work towards? So these steps are important to preserve the interest of people we onboard to this community. So I think we might also put a tiny bit focus on that. And I guess I'm looking forward for the book. And to me, when I pitch DeSci to people, it's case-by-case basis. I'll try different things, and whatever they pick seems interesting, I would build upon that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I think from our perspective, obviously having brought you into the ecosystem, I mean, we've been doing it on a little bit of a cohort basis. So we started with Fabio, Suyen, and Kishore as part of our first cohort, and then brought in Aidin and Sakina in our second one. And now for our third cohort, we have Vincent, Carlin, Amin, and oh my God, I'm going to blank on my last fellow's name. David. I'm so sorry, David. Shout out to David. But it's been really cool for us to also watch like your learning journey. So from the first lecture or module, when we bring you in and we say, okay, here's what Molecule is trying to achieve, here's DeSci, here are 11 different modules with different topics that we're going to cram into your brains in the next 6 weeks, get ready. We kind of watch you go from, what is this? I have no clue, never heard of it before, it sounds crazy, to like, sitting up here pitching a DeSci book and being the life of the party, talking about DAOs. So from our perspective, it's been really cool to have you get involved. And, your enthusiasm and dedication is definitely infectious, to kind of stick with this contagion narrative. And we're just really excited to kind of have you grow and succeed in the ecosystem. And maybe, I don't know, this could be like an interview question of like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? But just in the next 6 months after you kind of graduate from our program, do you guys have an idea of kind of where you would see yourself fitting into the ecosystem long term and kind of staying and getting involved?
Okay, I'll go first. So yeah, like I said, I kind of have been in contact with Cerebrum DAO, people from there, and so when I would like to maintain that. And it helps, I think for my PhD and then also being in contact with Cerebrum DAO, there's kind of like a symbiotic relationship there. So I would still like to be present in it, to help as I can and then help it grow because, like I said, optimistic. So I see potential in DeSci as a whole and specifically within certain elements of it. I really see promise there. And yeah, it's always nice to feel a part of something.
Nice.
So yeah, of course, I would like to stay in the ecosystem, and because I think there is a huge need in academia. So bridging this gap of DAO, decentralized concept, to sort of academia and institutions is definitely something I'm going to focus on. Knowing that my PI spending, as Tyler I think mentioned, 80% of our time applying for funding. We also got some interest from the industry, but the whole centralized part of things makes such a huge hurdle to how can we proceed with our projects. So I think definitely I'm going to stay, hoping that one day we can bring the whole CRISPR DAO or something like that into institution back in London. So really looking forward to that.
CRISPR DAO core member right here if anybody's interested.
I think I see myself as an advocate for DeSci, whatever that means. And one of the things that I'm trying to get involved now is with Bali DAO. I see Morgan there. And I think I really can use my whole training as a scientist to contribute into that, reviewing projects and everything from the different DAOs. I'm not just a synthetic biologist, but have training in molecular bio and many other things. So I think I can use what I have learned in academia to something better and greater, and that better and greater to me is DeSci. So I see myself involved with different DAOs, hopefully soon be out of academia, and kind of like transition to something more translatable, I will say.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, you know that I'm all about gut health, so even our startup is focused on gut health. So the ultimate thing for me in DeSci would be creating a gut health DAO, helping and being part of this DAO. And yeah, that's where I see myself, like after I graduate out of this. I want to put myself into this and create this gut health DAO. If people are interested in gut health related topics, yeah, we should catch up for this DAO. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I just want to say as well, thank you all for joining your first DeSci event, you know, going through a panel discussion and talking about your experience. And there are a few other Nucleate members in the room with us today. Some are also giving more talks as well. But yeah, the collaboration so far has been an absolute pleasure. Nucleate's been amazing to work with, and we really love what you're doing, and we're just grateful that we are kind of building everything in the same direction and having a great time doing it. So thank you.